What is going on, everyone? Tim from Tierfon Orbital. So today we are going to talk about a Tierfon Orbital ScrapFlex. This is my version of a ScrapFlex that I offer in my shop. I offer them fully installed. They are pretty, not like labor intensive, but they're just they take a while to build, right? They take a while to get the parts and put everything together. So I do want to come into Fusion and talk about this chassis. And then we will come up top and talk about the build itself, what goes into it, how I build it. And then, of course, we will do a demo, okay? So with all of that out of the way, let's come into Fusion and talk about this chassis. All right, so here is the chassis for this particular build, right? I'm just going to get this out of the way. This is a little bit of an older chassis, all right? It's an older model, but it checks out. Okay, I designed this chassis almost two years ago. Okay, so it is a little bit older. You won't find like my typical ridges along the battery chamber and along the board holder chamber. So it's a little bit older, but still got greeblies all over it and LEDs nonetheless. Okay, so you will notice a notch up here. So with my ScrapFlex variants, okay, so it really depends. They are all built around the Graflex 2.0 blade holder, okay? Where I have been sourcing my Graflex 2.0 blade holders, it's a toss-up which version I will get, right? There are two versions of this blade holder. One has a notch where the threads are, and one does not. Whenever I have a 2.0 blade holder with a notch, I really like making builds where I can put the kill switch in that notch. So that is what this hole or cavity is for, right? Our kill switch is up top in this particular build, okay? At the bottom, fully enclosed 28 millimeter base speaker. Here is our battery tray, okay? Around back, obviously, this is where our Proffie board will sit. It does slide up underneath this lip. I've got two circular LEDs in this build. So for this particular build, I believe both are blue, okay? And then, of course, we've got greeblies all over this thing, okay? But that's pretty much it, right? It's a static chassis with a kill switch up top in that slot, which I really, really love about those particular Graflex 2.0 blade holders. Let's come up top, actually, and we'll get a closer look at that. Okay, so here is the Tierfon Orbital ScrapFlex. This is the clean version of this build. I offer 4 different versions of this hilt. Clean, standard, weathered, standard, and then I also have a hybrid chassis install that are in both clean and weathered, right? So, but anyhow, here it is, right? Really, really nice. Personally, I like the look of polished brass on silver. I think it looks super classy. I like weathered brass as well, but I actually really, really like seeing this contrast on a hilt. Okay, here is that kill switch in that blade holder. Let me get another example. So here is another example of a 2.0 blade holder that does not have the notch, right? These are getting harder for me to find. And the last time that I purchased these, it was a toss-up. I got some without a notch in them, and I got some with the notch right here. I love having this notch up here because obviously it's a perfect spot to put a kill switch. It looks cool if you've got a crystal reveal in there, right? But they're just getting harder and harder to find for me, right? So if anybody has a source for 2.0 blade holders, please let me know, right? So anyhow, let's talk about the hilt. We'll start at the bottom here. Custom Saber Shop pommel. Okay, I did design a greeblie plate for this. So this has been threaded into place with some hex steel screws. Around the other side, I've got a cover tech. Now, I have usually been using D-rings down here. I have received a couple of constructive criticisms. They weren't really complaints. I mean, they kind of are complaints. If my hilt is making a bunch of noise and rattling around, I probably wouldn't like that. But that's kind of what happens with D-rings. I also used to do like a magnetic D-ring down here, but that was not very reliable either. So I have switched to CoverTech wheels in these builds. Okay. D-rings can still be placed here, but I've just, I leave that up to the customer, right? If you want to put a D-ring down here, you can just unthread this screw and you can mount your D-ring if you want, right? But I've just received a lot of complaints that it's just too floppy and too loud. And I also had an idea or a request, hey, you should put cover techs down here. I actually like the look of the steel cover tech. It's not steel, actually. This is aluminum that I have patinaed to kind of look like steel. I actually think it looks better with a cover tech, but that's just me, right? Making our way up, this is a Graflite flash gun cell holder that I use as my grips, okay? There is also a brass beauty ring down here. I've designed these to just kind of slot over the grip, and they are epoxied in place, okay? And how we marry this grip up into this Graflex blade holder is with a Graflex 2.0 conversion piece. This is also from the Custom Saber Shop, okay? There is our kill switch in there. Making our way up, here is a control box. So all of these are new parts that I have designed. I used to source these heat sinks from used Ender 3D printers. Not used, but this is an Ender 3D printer part. I actually just went about designing my own so that I can secure this upper Graflex shroud easier, right? So this screw that is in this recessed hole, this is what secures this entire shroud in place to this this Graflex 2.0 holder, right? So the original ones that I sourced did not have this hole in them, so I wanted to make something that made it a little bit more elegant to secure this up top, right? Before this, I was actually putting a screw underneath this, and I had to grind a lot of stuff, so this was just a lot easier to design my own, right? The latch is also designed by me. This is all done in steel, printed in steel, rather. And then I've got another kind of polished beauty ring up top here that goes around. That whole thing slides over this Graflex upper section, and then it just stays in place once you put this in, once you screw that down. Okay. Graflex red button. Oops. This already has a battery in it. Graflex red button, and then our aux switch is around the side here. This is mounted inside of this slot inside of that Graflex upper section. Okay, and then everything else is in place. We've got our Graflex bunny ears. Our long pins are here. Glass eye is around front. I put some hex brass mesh in my Graflex glass eyes. I really like the look of that. And then this brass screw here will serve as your blade retention. Okay, so because I just finished this yesterday, it's still fresh in my mind. One of the things that is the biggest pain in the butt about assembling these Graflex upper sections are these freaking bunny ears. Every time I end up pulling my hair out trying to get these into place, right? But yeah, all real replica Graflex parts from the Graflex shop. Okay. So let's take a look at our chassis. Okay, here's the chassis. There are those two blue circular LEDs. They are their own blade in the config. Obviously, I've already got my battery in place here.
You hear a lot of carbon scoring here. Looks like you boys have seen a lot of action.
Now, this chassis is secured in place with an M4 screw here. Another cool thing about this particular version of the Graflex 2.0 blade holder is it already has a threaded hole here that you can use to secure your chassis. With these other ones, it doesn't even have that, right? So two different kinds of Graflex blade holders. All right, so I've already got my battery in. I'll go ahead and put my grip back on. All right, and there's that glass eye lit. All right. And that's it. Let's come down to the bottom. All right. Love the look of that glass eye with that brass hex in there. Okay. And there it is. Okay. Let's put a blade in it. Okay. 7/8 inch blade holder. Another reason why I love those Graflex 2.0 blade holders. 7/8 inch blade. You want to rest it on those PCB pins through the bunny ears, okay? And that brass screw, as I mentioned, will serve as your blade retention. So tighten that down so it's just hugging the blade, okay? And then you are good to go. I mean, I actually much more prefer it with a CoverTech wheel. You know, D-rings will just flop around. They sound weird. I know that, like, the original A New Hope Graflex, it's got a D-ring on it. I get that. I know that, like, that's just what you have to deal with when you've got D-rings. I just prefer this CoverTech. It looks great. All right. Let's see what else we got on here.
That lightsaber was Luke's.
All right. Let's go with one more. So this config has also been set up with color wheel. Okay, to access your color wheel, you want to hold down aux and press main.
Red, orange, red.
And then you just rotate the hilt.
Orange, gold, yellow, green, yellow.
Until you find a color that you like, and then tap main. It will lock that color in place. Let's do one more.
Ben Solo.
That's a nice blue. Okay. So that's it. That is the Tierfon Orbital ScrapFlex from Tierfon, from me, from Tierfon Orbital, from Tim, right? I love building these. I actually really, really love doing these. The only caveat is that they're just time consuming to do them, right? So I always appreciate not only the people that order them, obviously, but I say this time and time again, I always appreciate patient customers, right? So to the customer, your hilt is ready to go. I will get this in the mail either today or tomorrow. Thank you very much for your patience. To everybody watching, if anyone is interested in these scraps, I have now opened up slots again on my website. If anyone is interested, if anyone has any questions, please don't be a stranger. You can reach out to me via the messaging app on my website or directly anywhere on social media, right? So if anyone has any questions, please don't be a stranger. And with that being said, may the force be with you always. Have a good one, everybody.